If some other country is willing to step forward and do that job themselves, then I encourage them to do so. But it seems to me that there are a lot of countries in the world that like to express concern about Gaza and about the Palestinian people, but very few are willing in the past to do anything concrete about it.
Within 48 hours of first presenting his dangerous ethnic cleansing plan of Gaza, it seems Donald Trump has realized that he possibly can't translate his delusional plan into a reality. This may be largely due to angry reactions from US partner countries in the Arab world, particularly Saudi Arabia, which Trump is hoping will invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the US. You can watch my video on the global outcry to Trump's ethnic cleansing plan here. Anyway, within hours, Trump's White House spokeswoman was seen making a significant climb down, as she told reporters that the US had no intention to permanently occupy Gaza. She also contradicted Trump on sending US troops to Gaza.
Garrett, great to see you here today.
Thank you. On Gaza, the president has spent basically his entire public career criticizing foreign entanglements, nation building, sending American troops to fight abroad, particularly in the Middle East. This plan seems like it could ultimately involve all of those things. Can you explain this reversal and how building and owning Gaza squares with America First foreign policy?
I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. And as I said in my opening remarks, we've had the same people pushing the same solutions to this problem for decades. And it's been made very clear to the president that the United States needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort to ensure stability in the region for all people. But that does not mean boots on the ground in Gaza. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. It means Donald Trump, who is the best deal maker on the planet, is going to strike a deal with our partners in the region.
He did not rule out American troops in Gaza last night. Are you doing that now?
I am saying that the president has not committed to that just yet. He has not made that commitment, and you know that. Bill Wegman.
Thank you. Is it worth risking the life of a single U.S. Marine to turn the Gaza Strip into the Riviera of the Middle East?
Phil, I'm not sure why you're asking me that question, because I've already said the president has not committed to sending Marines or any boots on the ground in Gaza.
A day later, Marco Rubio, war criminal Anthony Blinken's successor, went a step further as he asked regional countries to take the initiative to rebuild the Palestinian territory destroyed by Israel using American bombs. Now, this is massive. Why? Because it's another climb down, and a huge climb down by the US. Isn't he effectively saying that we don't have to get involved if you rebuild Gaza yourself? Watch him repeat his fresh climb down here.
Just on Gaza, because you addressed it yesterday during your press conference. During your comments, you mentioned that the plan that the president set forward would only move Palestinians from Gaza out temporarily. The president has said, I think it's pretty clear from his comments today, that he's talking about permanently resettling Palestinians from Gaza. Could you tell us whether this administration is planning to facilitate the forced displacement of those Palestinians?
As far as your question about the Gaza piece, let me go back and say that place right now, and I think the aerial images confirm, is not habitable, not just because of the destruction due to the conflict and the fact that the Hamas cowards hide underground, but also because there are unexploded munitions, there are all kinds of weapons, including Hamas weapons in the location. That all has to be cleaned up. I think President Trump has offered to go in and be a part of that solution, and if some other country is willing to step forward and do it themselves, then that would be great, but no one seems to be rushing forward to do that, and that has to happen. That's the reality. That place, Gaza, right now, has unexploded unexploded munitions, lots of rockets and weapons and other things that the Hamas was using there, and that needs to be dealt with. And it's very difficult to do that when you have populations on top of you. If some other country is willing to step forward and do that job themselves, then I encourage them to do so. But it seems to me that there are a lot of countries in the world that like to express concern about Gaza and about the Palestinian people, but very few are willing in the past to do anything concrete about it. And so I think President Trump is trying to stir that and hopefully get a reaction from some countries who do have both the economic and technological capacity to contribute to a post-conflict region.
Will be able to return or not?
Well, again, I mean, that area, when you're removing munitions that are unexploded, I don't think you want people living next to unexploded munitions and weapons depots that have been left behind or are in place because of what Hamas has done. So I think that's just a realistic reality that in order to fix a place like that, people are going to have to live somewhere else in the interim. And there are countries in the region who express a lot of concern about the Palestinian people, and we encourage them to step forward and provide a solution and an answer to that problem.
But isn't this exactly what war criminal Blinken had proposed just a week before he relinquished office?
We believe that the Palestinian Authority should invite international partners to help establish and run an interim administration with responsibility for key civil sectors in Gaza like banking, water, energy, health, civil coordination with Israel. The international community would provide funding, technical support, and oversight. The interim administration would include Palestinians from Gaza and representatives from the PA, selected following meaningful consultation with communities in Gaza, and would hand over complete responsibility to a fully reformed PA administration as soon as it's feasible. The administrators would operate in close cooperation with a senior UN official who should oversee the international stabilization and recovery effort. An interim security mission would be made up of members of partner nation security forces and vetted Palestinian personnel. Its responsibilities would include creating a secure environment for humanitarian and reconstruction efforts and ensuring border security, which is crucial to preventing smuggling that could allow Hamas to rebuild its military capacity. We would stand up a new initiative to train, to equip, to vet a PA-led security force for Gaza to focus on law and order and gradually take over for the interim security mission. These arrangements would be enshrined in a UN Security Council resolution. Some of our partners have already expressed their willingness to contribute troops and police for such a mission. But if, and only if, it is agreed that Gaza and the West Bank are reunified under a reformed PA as part of a pathway to an independent Palestinian state. And therein lies the rub. Reaching agreement will require all parties to summon the political will, to make hard decisions, to make hard compromises. Key regional and international actors will need to fully commit to supporting Palestinian-led governance and preventing Hamas's return.
Aside from Trump and his terrorist friend Netanyahu, no one, not even US allies in the West, such as the UK or Australia, supported the idea of Palestinians' ethnic cleansing. I made a video on how even pro-Israeli media such as the BBC and Sky News had begun using the term ethnic cleansing to describe Trump's Gaza plan. You can watch that video here. Now in Saudi Arabia, Turki Al Faisal, a prominent member of the Saudi royal family, he also served as the Saudi ambassador to the US, and he was also the head of Saudi Arabia's intelligence service. He rightly told the CNN that it was a fantasy for Trump to think that he can go ahead with his plan to ethnically cleanse 2 million people in the 21st century.
What came out of Mr. Trump is not digestible. I respectfully decline to add more disrespectful comments to that. But it is a fantasy to think that ethnic cleansing in the 21st century can be condoned by a world community that stays on its behinds and does not respond to that. The problem in Palestine is not the Palestinians. It is the Israeli occupation. And this has been clear and understood by everybody. Hence, you have United Nations resolutions calling for the quid pro quo of land for peace from 1967 until now. The Arab Peace Initiative, of course, is based on that and offered Israel not only diplomatic relation, but all of the things that Israel wanted from trade, from normalization, etc., in return for the establishment of a Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem. All of these things were American policy until this latest wording that Mr. Trump has chosen to use in claiming that he wants to better things when actually it is going to turn things into more conflict and more bloodshed.
Back home, a top US Senator, Chris Murphy, he had rightly said that the US was in no position to illegally occupy Gaza, adding that this was just to distract Americans from the loot of the US wealth by Trump and his billionaire cronies. Hope Chris Murphy is right for the sake of humanity. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you do think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. The details are there in the description of the video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.